I never believed the rumors about room 303. Every school has that one story, the haunted bathroom, the ghostly janitor, the cursed hallway. Ours was about detention. People said if you ever got assigned after-hours detention in room 303, you'd come back different, paler, quieter, or sometimes you wouldn't come back at all. I thought it was just a story to keep freshmen in line. Until the night I got detention there myself. It started on a Thursday. I'd gotten into a fight, not even a bad one. Some jerk thought it'd be funny to trip my friend in the cafeteria. I shoved him. He shoved back. The principal caught me mid-swing. "Detention," she said like it was a death sentence. "After school, room 303. My stomach dropped. "Wait, that's in the old wing, isn't it?" I asked. She raised an eyebrow. "Does that matter?" I forced a shrug. "Guess not." But as she wrote my name on the slip, I saw the corner of her mouth twitch, almost like she wanted to smile, or maybe warn me, but thought better of it. The school emptied fast after the final bell. By 5 o'clock, the halls were quiet except for the hum of old fluorescent lights. The newer parts of the building were warm and bright, but the west wing, the old wing, was different. They said it used to be the original school before the expansion, built in the 1950s. Now most of it was sealed off, paint cracked, tiles yellowed. And at the very end of the hall, behind a door that looked like it hadn't been opened in years, was room 303. The sign above it was half fallen, one screw hanging loose. The metal letters were rusted, barely legible. "Detention room." I hesitated. Something about it didn't feel right, but I wasn't about to give anyone the satisfaction of calling me scared. I pushed open the door. Inside, the air smelled stale, like paper, dust, and faintly burned wood. Rows of old wooden desks faced a chalkboard that looked like it had not been touched in decades. A single lamp on the teacher's desk cast a weak yellow glow across the room. And sitting behind it was a man I'd never seen before. He looked too old to be teaching, skin thin and gray, veins like dark lines beneath parchment. His suit was perfectly pressed, the kind of thing teachers used to wear in old photos. "Take a seat," he said, voice low and rough like he hadn't spoken in years. I blinked. Where's Mr. Peterson? He usually—" "Mr. Peterson is gone," the man interrupted. "Sit." His tone left no room for argument. There were 5 other students in the room, all silent, all sitting perfectly upright, eyes fixed on the blackboard. I recognized one of them, Tyler, a sophomore. But he didn't look right. His skin was pale, his eyes unfocused, and he didn't move when I whispered, "Hey, you okay?" No response, not even a blink. The old man's eyes snapped toward me. No talking. The clock above the chalkboard read 6 p.m. "Detention will end," he said slowly, "when the lesson is learned." I swallowed. "What lesson?" His eyes flicked toward me, sharp and cold. "The one you refuse to remember." The room stayed dead silent for what felt like an hour. No one moved. No one spoke. The old man sat at the desk, eyes on the class, as if waiting for something. I checked my phone. 6:15, then 6:45, then 7. But the clock on the wall still said 6. I frowned, holding my phone up to the light. The battery was dead. Weird. It had been full when I came in. Then the lamp flickered. Once, twice. And for a split second, I swear, the teacher's face changed. Like his skin sagged lower, his eyes sinking deeper. Then the light steadied, and he looked normal again. "Are we done yet?" I finally said, breaking the silence. "It's late." His mouth curled into the faintest smile. "You're the impatient type." He stood and began walking between the rows, slow, deliberate steps echoing on the old tile. The impatient never learn. They rush toward the end, without seeing what came before. As he passed, I caught a faint smell, not of cologne or tobacco, but smoke, burnt wood. My stomach tightened. I looked around at the others again. None of them moved. Not a single breath. It was like they weren't even alive. I stood up. This is messed up. I'm leaving. The teacher turned sharply. Sit down. I ignored him and went for the door. Except there wasn't one. I froze. The wall was just blank. No handle, no outline, nothing. I stumbled backward. What the hell? The teacher's voice rose, sharp as a whip. Sit down. The lights flickered again, and this time, when they steadied, the desks were filled. Every seat. Dozens of them. Students I'd never seen before, all sitting silently, dressed in old-fashioned uniforms, faces blank, eyes staring forward. The old man's voice softened. Now, the lesson. He picked up a piece of chalk and began to write on the board. Each letter screeched against the surface. March 12th, 1976. I blinked. What's that? He turned slowly, chalk still in hand. The day I taught my final class. Something in his tone sent a chill through me. The fire started in this room, he continued, his voice now distant, almost nostalgic. They said it was faulty wiring, but it wasn't. He looked at me. It was you. I took a step back. What are you talking about? I wasn't even, but he wasn't listening. He pointed at me with the chalk. You were one of them, laughing, mocking, locking me in when the flames came. He slammed the chalk down, shattering it. I remember your face. My heart pounded. That's impossible. But my words froze in my throat, because on the blackboard beneath the date he'd written 6 names, and the last one was mine. I stumbled back, shaking my head. No, that's not real. The old man smiled. Time is funny here. It folds like paper. What was, can be again. The students around me turned their heads in unison. Their eyes were hollow, their skin cracked and gray. And as they stared, the faint smell of smoke filled the air again. The light above us dimmed. The edges of the room began to blur, walls melting into shadow. And beneath it all I heard it. A faint crackling sound. Fire. I spun around. The floorboards at the back of the room were glowing orange. Smoke curled upward, thin at first, then thicker. The old man's voice echoed. Now you'll stay. Until the lesson is learned. I ran to the windows, nailed shut. I tried to break the glass, solid as stone. The desks were burning now, the students unmoving as the flames crawled up their bodies. Stop, I shouted. Please, stop. The teacher just watched, calm, eyes glinting in the firelight. Sit down, he said. Class isn't dismissed. The fire spread faster than it should have, licking up the walls, devouring the ceiling tiles. My throat burned. The air was thick and hot. Then, through the smoke, I saw the door, back where it had been. I ran. I threw myself against it and it gave way, and I stumbled into the hall gasping, coughing, slamming it shut behind me. When I turned around, the hallway was normal, clean, bright. The fire alarm wasn't going off. No smoke, no sound, just silence. I staggered toward the front office, shaking, covered in sweat. The janitor looked up from his mop. You okay, kid? You look like you've seen a ghost. I tried to speak, but no words came. He frowned. You coming from detention? I nodded. His face went pale. Son, they stopped using that room 40 years ago. My knees almost gave out. I was just there. The teacher, he shook his head. There's no teacher in 303. Hasn't been since the fire. I stared at him. What fire? He sighed, setting the mop aside. March 12th, 1976. Whole West Wing caught. They say a class was trapped inside. The teacher went crazy. Locked the door from the inside. I felt my chest tighten. How many students? I whispered. 6. He looked at me carefully. Why? But I couldn't answer. Because when I looked past him, through the office window, I saw it, on the detention roster, pinned to the bulletin board. 6 names, each neatly written in faded ink, and at the very bottom, My name, with the date beside it. March 12th, 1976. They told me not to take locker 117. They told me that hallway was off limits, that it smelled of rust and mildew because the pipes down there were old. But I didn't care. I was new, and being told no only made me want to say yes louder. I transferred to Westbridge High halfway through junior year. Small town, one main street, a gas station, and a school built sometime in the 1950s. The kind of place that always felt like it was holding its breath. On my first day, the guidance counselor handed me a map of the school and said, "You'll be using locker 117, basement level, end of the hall." The janitor, an old man with a limp and a face like a crumpled paper bag, looked up from mopping and muttered, "You might want to pick another one." I laughed. "Why's that?" He didn't look at me, just kept mopping the same spot. "Because some doors, once opened, don't close again." I thought he was being dramatic. Old building, weird maintenance guy. Every school had one. The basement was colder than the rest of the school, the kind of cold that clings to your skin like a wet shirt. The lights flickered every few seconds, humming overhead. Locker 117 sat alone at the very end of the corridor. Its paint was peeling, and it had a dent that looked like someone had kicked it, hard. When I twisted the dial and opened it, a whiff of iron and dust hit me. There was a faint scratch mark inside the door, something like letters carved into the metal. "Stay out." Cute. Real cute. Probably some bored kid's attempt at scaring freshmen. I stuffed my books inside and slammed it shut. The echo carried down the hallway like a hollow sigh. That night when I went home, I could still smell that rusty air on my hands. I scrubbed them twice. It didn't go away. The next morning, the janitor was waiting by the stairs leading to the basement. "Locker 117 still open?" "Yeah," I said, shouldering past him. "It's just a locker." He didn't follow, but I heard him whisper as I descended. Not for long. Third day at school, it started. When I reached my locker after lunch, I heard it. Faint, but unmistakable. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. The hallway was empty. Another 3 knocks. This time, faster. Closer. I leaned in, pressing my ear to the cold metal. Silence. I laughed nervously and opened it. My books were where I left them, except my English notebook, now open to a blank page. And written across it, in pencil so faint it looked like it had been there for years, were the words, "Help me." I snapped the notebook shut. My stomach twisted, but I told myself it was a prank. Maybe someone snuck in during class. Maybe it was just coincidence. But then the knocking came back. That night, I woke around 2 a.m. to the sound of metal tapping, distant but rhythmic. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. I sat up in bed, blinking. The sound wasn't from inside the house. It was coming from outside. From my backpack. I reached over and unzipped it slowly. My locker combination slip sat on top. The paper was damp, the ink smudged, and faintly, I could smell rust. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I tried to switch lockers. The office secretary smiled politely. "Sorry, dear, the system says you're already assigned. Can't you just change it?" She typed for a while, frowning. "That's strange. It won't let me delete the number. It's locked in the database." Locked in. I laughed nervously and left. But as I passed the janitor, he muttered under his breath again. "It's claimed you now." A week passed. The knocking became normal. Every time I opened the locker, a faint thud answered, like something shifting on the other side of the metal. Then came the notes. One slipped into my math book. "It's dark." Another tucked behind my jacket. "So cold." The handwriting was shaky, desperate. By the 3rd note, I was done pretending it was a prank. I told my friend Ryan. He laughed. "Bro, it's an old locker. Rats, pipes, whatever, don't freak out." "Then come see it," I said. He shrugged. After class, we went down to the basement together. The hallway was empty, the air thick. Ryan knocked on the locker, grinning. "Hey, ghost of locker 117, you home?" Silence. Then from inside the locker, tap, tap, tap. Ryan's grin faded. "Dude," he whispered. I opened the door, empty. But there, wedged in the upper corner, was another piece of paper. This one fresh, folded neatly. Ryan opened it before I could stop him. The note said, "Don't bring others." He dropped it immediately. "Screw this, man." We left. But the sound followed. Faint, metallic tapping echoing from behind us. That night, my phone buzzed at 1:17 a.m., a text from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have brought him." I froze. My room was pitch black except for the dim blue glow of the phone screen. Another text. "You can still make it right." My throat went dry. I typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. Just another text. A photo this time. It was the basement hallway. My locker, the door slightly open, and a hand, small, pale, gripping the edge from inside. I didn't go to school the next day, or the one after. I told my mom I had the flu. When I finally returned, Ryan wasn't there. The teacher said he'd been transferred suddenly, but no one knew where. I went to his locker, empty, not even his name tag, and when I opened mine, there was a new note waiting. "Thank you." By then I was losing it. The knocking grew louder every day. I started hearing whispers too, like faint breathing behind the metal. One afternoon, I stayed late, determined to end it. I brought a crowbar from the janitor's closet. The basement was deserted, the lights dimming to orange. I knelt in front of locker 117 and jammed the bar into the side. "Whoever you are," I muttered, "I'm ending this." The door creaked, the metal groaned, then burst open. Inside wasn't metal anymore. It was brick, freshly laid, dark red brick, like someone had sealed it from the inside. My hands trembled. I reached out and touched the surface, still damp with mortar. Then something underneath. The brick moved. The wall pulsed. A crack split down the center, and a single pale eye stared back at me through the gap. I screamed and fell backward as the bricks began to crumble. A hand shot out, thin, gray, with fingernails worn to the bone. It reached for my face and I swung the crowbar instinctively. The wall shattered and I ran. I didn't stop until I was outside in the freezing air, lungs burning. The next morning, the basement was sealed off. Police cars, yellow tape, the principal talking to reporters. They said they found old remains behind the wall, a student from the 1970s who had gone missing. His name was Michael Graves, but that wasn't the part that made my stomach drop. The yearbook photo they showed on the news? He looked exactly like me. Same face, same eyes, same scar on the eyebrow. I transferred schools again after that. Different city, different start. But on my first day, the secretary smiled and said, "You've been assigned locker 117. I froze. "Can I change it?" She frowned at her computer. "That's strange. The system won't let me delete the number." That night, when I opened the new locker for the first time, there was only one thing inside. A note, written in shaky pencil, smudged with dust. "Help me." And it was in my handwriting. They say you never forget your first job. I wish I could. I was in my second year of college, broke and desperate. Between tuition, rent, and gas money, I was running on instant noodles and energy drinks. So, when I saw the email from the Student Employment Office titled Tutoring Opportunity, $25 per hour, evening shift, I didn't hesitate. The message said the program was partnered with Westbrook Academy, an old high school just outside town. The sessions were listed as night classes for students needing academic assistance. It sounded simple enough. The only odd thing, the email had no sender name, just no reply at westbrookacademy.org. When I arrived that night, the first thing I noticed was the building. It was old, not outdated, but abandoned looking. Faded paint, boarded up windows, and a broken sign that still read, Westbrook Academy, home of the Hawks. The parking lot was empty except for one car, An old beige sedan with a cracked windshield. I double-checked the address on my phone. It matched. Before I could reconsider, the front door creaked open on its own. Inside, the hall smelled of dust and chalk. My footsteps echoed as I followed the dim glow of fluorescent lights toward what looked like a classroom at the end of the corridor. A man stood there, tall and stiff, wearing a suit that looked like it belonged in the 1960s. His hair was neatly combed, but his eyes, they didn't blink. "You must be our new tutor," he said, his voice flat but polite. "You may call me Mr. Avery." He gestured toward the classroom. "Please take your seat. Class will begin shortly." I hesitated. "Wait, I thought I was here to tutor." He smiled thinly. "You'll learn that teaching and learning often overlap." Inside the classroom, 6 students sat in old wooden desks. They were silent, completely silent. Each wore a faded uniform, gray vests and white shirts, and stared straight ahead. No phones, no backpacks, no movement. I cleared my throat. Hey, everyone." No response. Mr. Avery stood at the blackboard, writing in looping cursive. Lesson 1, Obedience. Then he turned to me. "We value discipline here. I trust you'll fit right in." For the first half hour, I tried to play along. He lectured about rules, time, and respect. The kind of stuff you'd expect from a strict private school teacher. But something was wrong with the clock. It was stuck at 12. The second hand didn't move. I checked my phone. No signal, no time displayed. When I looked back up, the students were all looking at me. Every single one. Unblinking, my mouth went dry. "So, what subject do we teach here?" Mr. Avery smiled. "History, of course. Tonight we'll begin with 1984. Halfway through the lesson, I noticed something else. The walls weren't solid. They pulsed slightly, like the paint itself was breathing. A low hum filled the air, faint but rhythmic, like electricity running through veins. Then one of the students, a girl in the back row, dropped her pencil. It rolled under her desk. She bent to pick it up, and didn't come back up. I stood. "Hey, are you okay?" When I walked over, she wasn't there. Her seat was empty. Mr. Avery didn't pause. He kept lecturing, his chalk squeaking against the board. "In this class, there are no mistakes, only consequences." I swallowed hard. "Where did she go?" He stopped writing and turned, his head tilting slightly. "She failed to pay attention." I stepped back. "I'm leaving." But when I turned toward the door, it was gone. The wall where it had been was now smooth plaster. The windows, too, sealed, painted black from the outside. Mr. Avery set the chalk down. "Sit down, Mr. Carter." "I'm not sitting down," I shouted. The students turned in unison, eyes hollow, faces expressionless. One boy's voice cracked the silence. "You're not supposed to be here." I ran to the front of the room, searching for another exit. The lights flickered. The hum grew louder, almost a whisper now, voices blending together. Then I saw something carved into the blackboard frame. Class of 1984. Forever. The air grew heavier, thick with dust and static. The floorboards shifted beneath my feet like they were breathing. Mr. Avery smiled again. "We don't often get new teachers, but every class must have one." He lifted his hand, and the lights went out. When they came back on, I wasn't in the classroom anymore. I was standing in a hallway lined with old lockers, rusted, dented, numbers faded. The air was cold, so cold I could see my breath. A single bell rang in the distance, loud, metallic, echoing forever. I turned a corner, and there they were, the students, standing in a line, motionless. Their eyes were white. Their mouths moved in unison, whispering one word over and over. "Stay." I bolted down the hall. My shoes slapped the floor. I turned corners blindly, looking for an exit. Every hallway looked the same, peeling wallpaper, cracked tiles, flickering lights. Then I saw it, the front door, wide open. I sprinted toward it and froze. Standing in the doorway was Mr. Avery, only now he wasn't wearing a suit. His clothes were burned, blackened. His skin blistered. Half his face was gone, revealing gray bone beneath. "Leaving so soon?" he croaked. "We were just beginning." He reached out, his hand skeletal, smoke drifting from his fingers. I stumbled backward and slammed into a locker. It popped open, and a body fell out. It was the girl from class. Eyes open, mouth frozen mid-scream. Pinned to her uniform was a name tag, Amy Carter. My last name. Something inside me snapped. I ran, harder than I've ever run in my life. The halls twisted, warped, turning in impossible ways, looping back on themselves. Doors led to stairwells that dropped into darkness. Finally, I slammed through one door that burst open into blinding light. When I came to, I was outside, in the parking lot, sunlight burning my eyes. My car was still there. I checked the time, 8 a.m. But my phone showed no missed calls, no messages, nothing. The email from Westbrook Academy had vanished. When I looked up, the building was different. The windows were boarded. The doors chained shut. A rusted sign read, "Closed since 1984. Fire claims 7 lives." I drove straight home shaking. That night I got another email. No sender name, just the subject line. "Night class, attendance required." Attached was a single image. It was a classroom photo. There were 6 students in the picture, and me standing beside them, smiling. The caption read, "Westbrook Academy Faculty, 1984. I deleted the email. I threw away my phone. But sometimes when I drive past that part of town, I see the building silhouette in the distance, lights flickering faintly in the top floor window. And if I listen closely, I can still hear the faint echo of chalk on a blackboard, writing the same word again and again. Stay.